Well, what I want to talk about is many times I'm getting comments on some of the newer videos I'm putting out. These comments are talking about, combat speed and how a technique wouldn't work in combat because, the way it's being executed. Well, here's the thing, and this is across the board with any skill. You're going to have to learn it before you really execute it. You have to practice a skill before you execute it in combat. Think about this. You join the military. They're going to give you a weapon. You're going to practice with this weapon without any ammunition. It's called dry fire. You're going to practice with that in every way you would function it in combat conditions without any ammunition. Then they're going to give you blanks. Well, we're talking about when I trained, but it's probably the same. In the 80s, it's probably the same, at least to a degree. They give you blank ammunition, and you practice with that. You might be moving and shooting a little bit more than in dry fire. You might even practice hitting a bunker. You might even practice, bounding. You might practice, movement in force or recon in force. You're going to practice all these different combat applications, combat tactics, combat strategies. You're going to practice it slow. You're going to practice it until you get to where you can shoot, move, and communicate. And then you'll put it under more and more stress conditions. And people say, well, I don't want to do that. I just want to learn how to do it this way. Okay, well, you're a fool. You're an imbecile. Because it's not going to build the skills you need. You could functionalize a certain technique under certain conditions. The problem is, for that to now work in combat, you have to have the right conditions. So now you need to functionalize every little thing you do under the exact condition you intend it to work under. This is why traditional martial arts are still important. You want to have the fundamentals. You want to have sound basics. You want to have the ability to adapt and flow in a fluid and moving environment. Suppose you're in a 5-man squad and 3 of your men are wounded. You've got to be able to function without those individuals, or you're just going to end up in a prisoner of war or whatever. Now you've got to still win that engagement or move your unit back to safety. You can't take a technique out of context and try to put it in a moving environment that isn't suited for. So we have developed some really good training, and this is really only good if you have basic fundamentals. But I've been putting together some new drills for my students. And I say they're new to us. I'm sure other people have already done those drills, and maybe for a long time. My instructor probably, every time I invent a new technique or a new drill, I find out my instructor was doing it in 1979. Okay, but I didn't see him do it. It took me 25, 30 years to develop that understanding, and then I start teaching that. He may have been taught that teaching method from his instructor, and it was passed to him that way. For me, I have to develop these things on my own. So I've been working on a lot of stuff that's new to us here. And so when you see a video, any video you see on this color mats is probably filmed within a few days of it being shown. So these mats have only been here about 1 month. So this environment that we're practicing these new types of drills are, these people have only done it one time. You're seeing it the first time they've done it. So when you want to say, well, this is this or that, the first time you do something, it's going to look a little bit off. But what I'm trying to do is share it with my friends, share it with my peers, and get legitimate feedback, not your imbecilic response that the person isn't attacking at combat speed, because the person is learning something for the first time. You're not going to get in a car and drive on the Indianapolis 500 the first day. You're not even going to drive the race course with no one on it and survive, much less with 3 cars, now put 40, 50 cars on it. You're not going to make it, bro. So really, I know I'm preaching to the choir here, because people that have negative things to say are not going to change their minds, because they're really not understanding what they're looking at. And this is kind of a hard thing for me, because I really teach to help people, and I'm trying to help you and explain to you what we're doing, and therefore it's frustrating for me that you're not listening. Then I have to realize you're not going to listen because you can't understand. So I might as well be speaking a foreign language, because you're just not understanding, or you're just an asshole, rude asshole, and maybe you should just shut up.